Testing 1 2, testing 1 2.
Good evening, everyone. This meeting is being held with the benefit of public notice as required by the Open Public Meetings Act. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Mr. Carabelli?
Here.
Mr. Whalen?
Here.
Mr. Caparo?
Here.
Mr. Ty?
Here.
Ms. Phillips is absent.
Would everyone rise for the salute to the flag and the invocation?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, let us demonstrate humility and compassion in all that we do. Let us never allow pride and self-righteousness to cloud our judgment. We pray especially this evening for those suffering with loss and for those who are less fortunate. We make all these intentions in your name. Amen.
Amen. All right, welcome to the workshops, the budget workshops. We're going to be starting tonight with the Department of Community and Economic Development provided by Director Fred Dumont. Welcome, Fred. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Council President, members of council. It's my honor to present the budget on behalf of the Department of Community and Economic Development and to speak about the hard work and dedication of the employees of our 8 divisions: land use, planning, zoning, housing, construction, engineering, HUD, and economic development. Every application, every proposal, every idea starts in our economic development office or land use office. From there, to proceed to planning and engineering, eventually ending in our construction office. And one of the success of our department was the construction failures. In 2017, we took in $2,265,860 in fees. In 18, $2,230,463 in fees. In 19, $2,412,713 in fees. When most of us joined here in 2020, we took in $2,987,319 in fees, followed in 21 by $3,547,394 in fees. 2022, $3,600,528 in fees. In 23, $3,277,229 in fees. And in 2024, $3,707,724 in fees. Just as a point of reference, in March of 2025, we took in $594,000 in fees for a total for the 3 months of $1.2 million. So while we're proud to build, we're also proud to preserve land. We preserved last year 10.577 acres. That was the Cruiser Road project. And plant trees, $303,000. That Cruiser Road project was purchased for $3.4 million, but only $287,187 was paid by the town of Hamilton. In 2024, our engineering division conducted capital paving projects on East State Street Extension. That was a state grant. Marshall Avenue, Hoffman Drive, Samuel Street, Englewood, Genesee Streets, and Woodside Avenue. We did pedestrian improvements on Montana Avenue, Shelley Lane, and East State Street. We performed a miscellaneous concrete project in various locations of the town and ADA improvements in various locations. The total engineering road investment was $3,114,155.73. I'm also extremely proud of our business support program. Take our job fair as an example. No, Kath, I won't stop. I'm going to bring it up for a year. In 2017, our town hosted a job fair on 2 dates, 10 vendors at each date for a total of 120 job seekers. 2018, they had 1 event for 12 vendors, again, 120 applicants. 2019, 2 dates, 15 vendors each for 330 applicants. In March, we had a job fair that had 70 vendors and 1,266 applicants. I started my position here on January 2nd in 2020. Never in my wildest dreams could I have imagined I'd be standing in front of you presenting my 6th budget. But this budget was difficult to prepare as I consider our normal workload and our additional challenges before us in 2025, like addressing a 4th round fair share housing obligation, opening our cannabis facilities, managing our housing rehabilitation program, and finally building our municipal complex. In the end, I believe we can accomplish all these tasks while reducing our 2024 operating costs by $29,805 and our salaries from 2024 to the tune of $208,098. So with great anticipation and excitement for what will be another successful year, I'm happy to answer any question you have about our 2025 budget. So, Council President, I have given you two breakdowns of our operating costs that we reduce. The second sheet is all the salary reductions for 2025.
Fred, so these are, why so many that went down? Decreases, I guess.
Which one, Ant?
This sheet that I'm looking at right here.
So what we did is we had people retire.
Which is great, I mean, but,
So we had people retire, and we moved people around. So on the left side, you'll see the name of the position and their salary in 2024. Like, for instance, Sabrina Bowling,
right,
her salary was 76. We replaced her by Madison at a salary of 65. It's $11,200 savings. Kenny Enderly retired, replaced him with a clerk rather than an engineering staff.
right,
That was $22,000 in salaries, and it just keeps moving down.
okay.
And obviously, you're still searching for a housing inspector to replace Vince DiDonato, correct?
That is correct. And another housing inspector to replace Rick Randichek. But we will bring both of those inspectors in at the starting salary of $70,523.
So how many inspectors do you have now? And,
In housing,
yeah,
so we have our housing officer and two inspectors underneath him right now.
Fred, so you said we've gone up almost over $1 million in the 6 years that, in fees that we've collected, correct?
That is correct.
Pretty good.
That is,
what types of fees were those?
So that's construction fees. So
All
for every
construction.
project, you have to pay a construction fee for each discipline, whether it be building, plumbing, electric, or mechanical. And we haven't raised those fees at all. Those are the same fees as were in existence in 2018.
Was there any talk of raising any of them fees, Frank?
We've not, Councilman, because the cost of starting a project, even before you put a shovel in the ground, is significant. We want to continue to attract good, strong economic development here, so we'd like to keep the fees as low as possible.
When was the last time you looked at the fees? You adjusted them a few years back, correct?
We didn't adjust the construction fees, we adjusted the housing fees.
Fred, before we get into the admin sheets, how are things moving with the new multi-municipal complex and school development building?
I think we're moving well.
Okay,
Weather's hurt us a little bit. You know, rain doesn't help us out there. There was a small glitch, had to do with the backfill of the project. You know, we thought a little bit out of the box. Looks like we moved beyond that project with a minimal cost to us.
So I understand plans have been finalized to turn this building over to the Board of Ed.
That's above my pay grade, Council President, so.
That's what we're working on, yes. We still are coming up with a lease agreement for the new building, and it will address what we do with this building as well.
I urge you to go by the building, the new building. The stair towers are going up. One of them's done already. The second one will be done by the end of the week. Anticipating steel, knock on wood somewheres, you know, end of April, beginning of May, and then the project will start flying after that.
When are we going to be cutting a ribbon?
22 months, maybe, 21 months, something like that.
All right.
But we are planning a topping off ceremony for September, October. So we're putting the plans together. What we want to do is we want to have the last beam that they put on top of the building, have it painted white. The mayor was going to host a ceremony where municipal employees, dignitaries come in, sign the beam, and then on a particular time, they'll raise that beam into on top of the building, American flag on top of it, they'll secure it, and then the building will be topped off officially.
No, did you want to go through any questions on, I didn't have any really questions, Fred. I think your budget is always, impeccable. It's very lean. And the only question I noticed on the one admin sheet, which is page 3 of the admin sheet, there was, this is good news, it's a decrease. I just was curious on the out of title category. Is that page, I'm sorry, this is under building code inspections.
So you're looking at salaries?
It's page 3, yeah. No, this is under differential out of title, it's called. Last 3 digits are 018.
So.
And I noticed there was 54 in 2024, but we only have 5 that we spent in the budget was the actual spent in the budget in 2024. But now we're showing that we're down to 5,000, which has been consistent, and it didn't have any increase. I mean, it didn't have any actual spent over like a 3-year period. But what was that? What was that due to?
So in 2024, we lost our construction official and then our plumbing official. So we were shuffling to try to move people around until we actually found replacements for them. We didn't replace both of them. The plumbing official replaced in, I think it's December.
Okay.
So, those struggles cost us that money.
Cost us that money during that time
But in
period.
the end, our entire department came under budget.
Under
including
budget,
that
because you
position.
didn't have those salaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
We took from Peter to pay Paul.
Okay.
If you look at the main line for salary and wage, it's way under budget because of those vacancies and we shift personnel.
Right.
And it may have happened in years past, but we just started tracking it a little bit.
Right.
More accurately now, so we'll charge it to out of title when we actually have that.
Okay. That's fine. That's good. I also noticed that we're moving, I guess, in-house scanning, which is a savings of almost 22,000.
It is. So we've got some of our lower paid clerks working on that. Also, through the county, we had 5 interns last summer. We're hoping to get our 5 interns this summer. You know, if you want me
We'll
to
see
be
what you
on
do.
budget, you could talk to somebody there from
All
them.
right.
And we use people like that for that. Also, Mrs. Monzo provided for us, and it was an outstanding fireman who was on light duty. He came in, did a great job for us. in,
Okay.
Scanning some of our stuff.
Okay. Excellent. And obviously, the big one for us, and I already talked to Kathy about this, is just the health insurance number, and that was the one thing that impacted us all through. I must probably see this in most departments, right? Just the increase that we experienced with the health insurance.
Absolutely. So, and that's charged separately because, again, this is a source of different revenue and so we really put that in the right cost center here.
Mhm.
But it did go up quite a bit from last year.
Right. Mhm. Yeah.
The crowd's getting antsy behind me. You gotta do it.
Anything that you want to update us on regarding capital, I guess?
Yeah, let's take a look at.
Yeah.
So the capital, quite challenging. The mayor did not want to increase capital at all. So in previous years, you saw 8, 9 roads being done in engineering. This year, you're seeing 1 under capital engineering. It is Clockner Road near the marketplace. But we are hoping to move that off of our capital list and include it into the project. We've received a state grant for the rest of Clockner Road.
Oh, wow.
The reason it's still in there tonight is we have not received written confirmation from New Jersey Department of Transportation, but we have received verbal. So we hope that comes off. We also finance the other roads using TID funds. That's not taxpayer money. To do those 6 roads, we're doing one road under CDBG, and then the other roads are going to be done under a grant. So still a large capital engineering year for us.
So it's not just one that we're doing, there's a bunch of, that are under,
We're using other
not
funding.
not
sources.
using capital, okay. Okay.
Not using township money.
Okay, so we're not setting ourselves up for like next year, the year after, to be concerned with, oh, now we have this newer list of roads that we're going to have to repave or mill and finish and get up to, a good quality standard. All right, that's good. That explained it for me.
The big
That was my follow-up.
grant job on Clockner Road, that would eat up a lot of our monies. We're doing that with a state grant, so.
Okay.
Fred, on page 3, or I think page 4, it's public facilities, page 1, under capital. You had asked for, was building and grounds yours or not?
They're not.
No, it's not, I'm sorry. Just realized those building and grounds. I apologize.
So we don't have any other funding in any other capital other than the roads.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I'm good. I don't have anything else.
We appreciate the reductions, Fred, in a tough year. Thank you for, working to find those.
Yeah, Councilman, thank you for the kind words, but it's my staff. My staff does the bulk of the work. They should be commended, and I will pass the kind words over to them tomorrow morning. All right?
All right. Thank you, Fred.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for,
All right, Fred.
Have a good night.
Chief, you want to join us?
I know, decreases.
Well, supposedly they said everybody else is just gonna follow right behind Fred.
That was a setup right there.
That was a total setup.
I know.
To do it to the new guy, that's.
I know, right?
How are you?
Good, good.
Oh, thank you for having me. So,
That's a blue page. Chief, did you have any opening remarks you wanted to?
I'm never gonna follow Fred ever again. That'd be a pretty good opening remark. I feel like, yeah. Actually, I'm actually honored to be here today on behalf of, the members of the fire department. Some of the hardest working people I've ever met in my life, and, they do an outstanding job protecting the residents as well as each other. And we do appreciate, any and all support that we do get from, you and the administration. So, again, this is my first budget presentation to this council, and my first time working with Ms. Monzo, and as far as this, so we do appreciate, and of course, the first one is got to be the toughest, right? So, I think that our budget, it does reflect some increases in salary and wages due to a contract. Some of those may initially appear a little higher. But we were out of contract a little bit longer than a year, so just we ask that you take that into account. This year, we've kind of changed the way that we're going to approach a few things. We're actually in the process, as far as capital, presenting basically phase-in plans, 3-year, 5-year, 10-year, as far as it goes to fleet, ancillary equipment, things with longer service lives. So that way we can take that out of our normal operating, and it'll allow us to have a lot more flexibility moving forward. We think that ultimately that sticker shock of coming in and we need to replace air packs and asking you for $800,000, now and then again in 10 years tends to kind of not really come off all that well. So our plan is to, phase those things in. so that we have better control, and allows us to kind of control our spending and keep up with the latest technology because, as you can see, we are very manpower and equipment intensive, some of those costs are truly out of our control. And with the way that the supply and demand goes, as well as current tariffs and things of that nature, we're feeling that impact as well as you are. So I guess the easiest thing would be if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer it. I would ultimately like to thank Deputy Chief Ritalis, also Whitney and Caitlin, who are also here in attendance, the Fire Marshal's Office, our FMBA, both 284, 84, and like I said, every member of the department who is trusting us to do what we can on not only their behalf, but the residents' behalf. So if there's anything you would like to ask me, I'd be more than happy to answer the best of my ability.
Thank you, Chief.
Have a note for your
Seeing the details for that line, typically multi-factor, all the Microsoft 365.
You know what, can you slow down a minute? We need to catch up.
Maintenance of motor vehicle.
Maintenance agreements.
Ah,
There's details that just need to be adjusted in that. The overall total is correct at 87,664. We just have to zero out those two line items for the multi-factor and Microsoft 365. The total is correct.
okay.
Let me find that spot. Right. I don't know that, you might see that in a couple of different areas as well, that where some of the things, particularly with other software items, and we're centralizing that in IT. So this actually wasn't a reduction of these items, they're just moved, they're going to be covered under IT.
Okay.
That's why when we get to IT, you'll see that there is an increase in there. So I'm kind of giving you the information, Thomas is giving you the information ahead of time so that you don't have sticker shock when you see that. But just know that almost all of those items in there, we've moved from other divisions or departments.
Are we fully staffed now, as far as this department goes?
So right now, we currently have 2 vacancies, which we're in the process of filling. We conducted interviews. We're ready for the next phase, and we'll be doing a joint academy with the City of Trenton. Start date, as of right now, initially was May 19th. It's now been changed to May 29th. However, we're past interviews, internal interviews for fire department. We're now to background checks, physicals, and then the meeting with the mayor to see the next step here. So once we get those members out of the academy, which is approximately 4 months long, yes. So one of the vacancies was we had a retirement and a firefighter moved up to the rank of captain, creating a vacancy in the firefighter ranks. That'll count for 1 member. And then we had a vacancy in a float position assigned to one of the engine companies, and that will also be filled, provided both actually graduate from the academy.
That being said, if you were if you have the full amount of required firefighters, how does that directly correlate with the overtime as far as reducing it? You know, as you can see, and I'm not picking on the fire department by any means, but you can see the gradual increases that we've seen throughout the years. But, 2022 was 2.5. I think we ended up spending 2.62, and it just went up and up and up. And then you requested 3.8. Naturally, they settled on 3.1. But fully staffed, how does that help with the overtime?
So there are varying opinions on fully staffed. I will just, full transparency.
Yeah.
Okay, right now, for the vacancies that we have, those additional members, that once they're added, will allow us to kind of, especially the float position, one is a float position, that position was assigned to offset overtime. So that person's been able to move throughout the companies. So what that will allow us to do is have 2 float firefighters per position, or per platoon, excuse me.
Chief,
I'm sorry, just an explanation on the float, they can go from, they're assigned to different, like,
Yeah.
how's it work?
Yeah, the easiest way is, for example, Engine 2 for us on South Broad Street, Station 13. They have a float firefighter assigned, so it's a four-person company right now, and the fourth member can be relocated for the day to offset overtime.
Okay.
But we cannot drop below our three-man minimum for that engine company.
I got you.
So,
Okay.
look, it's very difficult with the fire department, right? We're different from PD, where we don't have patrol minimums and those things. We're almost always at a minimum. Our engine company minimums are 3. Truck company, rescue company, and squad company, which are all part of special operations, and/or rescue companies, have a 4-man minimum. So that's where you start seeing some of those numbers kind of, I wouldn't say that they never really level out, right? Contractual increases, you'll have those. The other item taken into account is also, as members, advance in the department, as far as years on a job, they're gonna accrue more vacation time. They earn more vacation time. So, my opinion, there's kind of, the services that we provide are necessary, I will say that. So there's kind of 2 ways. We work to fund the overtime, but, for us, the biggest offset would be additional manpower, increasing the number of the companies, allowing us to then drop those additionals. It's not ideal, but it is kind of the best of all worlds here.
The other thing that's gonna affect, the overtime is gonna be injuries, right? If you have people that are out, you have people that are injured, somebody's gotta fill that. You can't ever, predict an injury, you can't predict somebody getting sick. So that's also, something that you're just not gonna be able to avoid.
That's a great point. And last year was a tough year with injuries, but, the way I can best equate this to everybody's job is difficult, but I would suggest that you, tonight, just think about this for one brief second. When you get home, keep the lights off, put your hands over your eyes, and walk into a room that you're fully aware of every single day. See how many things you run into. Now, we do that while it's on fire, sometime in hoarding conditions. I make no excuses for injuries. They're going to happen no matter what the job. But unfortunately, there is an inherent cost to it, and Councilman Paparo's direct response is perfect to that.
The other part that you have to think about with the overtime going up is salary and wages go up because of the raise. So every time somebody gets a raise, what's also going to go up, because they're directly correlated, is the overtime rate. So when you're paying somebody an increased salary and then you have an injury and their salary went up, it's just natural for that number to go up too. The only way to reduce that number is either put more firefighters on or don't have people on the street, right? You don't want to keep the street unsafe. So you just have to we have to find a balance on, where the true savings is gonna be. Sorry, just wanted to say.
No, that was a good answer.
Yeah. And the minimums are dictated by contractual agreements at each of
Safe
is that
standards.
is that statute?
Yeah,
Is that
standards
statute?
for response. Also, the contract doesn't necessarily spell that out.
Okay.
But engine companies in general operate at a minimum of 3. Preferred standards would be 4 nationally. But again, it's been a practice that we've had, and we look forward to working with the administration to adding staff in those positions. We can definitely sit with you guys and develop a phased-in plan as we move forward.
What does that mean, a phased-in plan?
So what I mean by that would be, instead of, always like coming in and saying we need 12 people, right? It might be an engine company, or, I hate to say engine company, we'll add 4 people perhaps in the spring, 4 more in the fall. So now we're adding staff while you're recognizing and receiving a little bit of that savings. Instead of 8 in the beginning of the year, you phase that in. Now you're paying them essentially half of that year. Because we're going to potentially run into an issue. And we've talked to Ms. Monzo about this, is within the next few years, we could have a large number of retirements. So when I talk about phase-ins, I'd be remiss if we weren't already planning for potential retirements, right? We want them to stay, but ultimately, that's the game plan. And if we're not preparing ourselves on our end and developing a plan for those potential retirements, the overtime number is then going to jump drastically because now we're going to have voids in our response.
The obstacle that we face in both of our jobs is when someone retires, they have time they're either going to burn, they're going to walk out the door. If we don't have somebody ready to step in, right, and it's not just, hey, I'm going to take somebody off the street and put them into a civilian position, there's obviously specialized training. So when we turn around, and you know this as well as anybody, when you turn around and you have a firefighter or a police officer retire, it takes, 10, 12, 20-something weeks to get through certain trainings, right, depending on where they're coming from. So unless you're bringing somebody in who's already trained, now we're paying overtime for potentially mass retirements. That overtime is going to go from whatever it is to a lot more. And if we're not prepared with getting people ready, right, whether it's through transfers or whether it's through bringing other people on, when those retirements come, we're going to have holes in the budget. We're going to be paying, double the overtime we're paying now. It's a problem because you can't guess anybody's retirement.
Right, you
can't say, hey, he's leaving this day.
Yeah.
It's a difficulty.
Hard to predict.
Some of the, what we've done, in a number of times or whatever, if we have a little bit of lead time, like if somebody puts in their retirement application 6 months ahead of time, which is ideal for us, or it's better than just a few months, right? And it gives them time to go through the process for that and have that approved, but then we can overlap hires and make sure we're getting somebody time to go into the academy, to do it for police too. So there's been several times that we've had kind of an overlap and had replacements, kind of in academy waiting for that retirement to happen. So, it's hard. It's hard to, and when you don't have that lead time, it makes it even more difficult. So it's tough.
It's a challenge for sure on both sides, right? From your side
Yes,
and from the
absolutely.
administration side. It's tough to try and predict if somebody's going to leave or not leave, and you don't want
Yes.
to push anybody out the door, but you still
And
have to
then
get
plan
people
for that,
trained.
because you're right, that you do have all this
Well, the
training
training
that
has
has to
to
get
go along
done,
with it.
and, they can't just jump into it, the day after somebody retires. So.
Yeah, agreed.
So it's also important to note, one last thing on that, is we also operate as a one-for-one replacement because we don't have the additional, I don't want to say staffing, but available manpower like, maybe the police department does. Not to throw the police department or anything, but we work completely different. So just understand, I know law enforcement's been before you since its inception, right? And they do an outstanding job. So just understand that we are a completely different entity. And I know that even though it's been a few years, we are still there's a learning curve and a bit of understanding to move forward. But we do appreciate that. And we also, we were just talking, the expected number in the next few years, was it next year?
2001 class was almost 30-something people came on, so like that, they'll hit 25 years, so almost 30-something can go off.
And that's not counting the 7 or so that could go right now.
First year, 2000.
It was a big year.
So we're potentially looking at anywhere from, 30 to 45 members of the department retiring in the next
Can
3
leave.
years.
Doesn't mean they
Could
won't.
leave, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's what we try to narrow down, right? We know
Yeah.
this many can leave, and that would be terrible, right? But then realistically, who's going to go and when are they going to go? And, there's no exact science to it.
No,
If you could predict that, maybe you could buy my lottery ticket.
I don't try to predict it. We just try to have some conversations, so.
but
No,
thank you.
I
I
would not.
appreciate your question.
A lot of the professional service agreements, the contracts with the computer stuff, it's beyond their control, but the numbers are just outrageous.
Yeah, software has been that way for a while, and it just seems like it's gotten worse in the last handful of years too, right? It's just, But we need it, right? We need to have these things in place, the technology in place, and
Mhm.
I don't think we have anything extravagant. It's really just kind of what's necessary to get the job done.
It's the same with the vehicles.
Oh, the vehicles, I know,
With the cost of everything and now what's going on,
yes,
what are we looking at, down the road?
a lot.
Kathy, I forget, do we typically put under for vehicle maintenance or repair? That's never put under capital, is it?
No, not.
Just
the
for
maintenance
vehicle
and repair.
purchases, yeah. Because maintenance of motor vehicles, I saw a few there that the fire apparatus repair was a little bit of a larger number. We're not looking to buy another vehicle, we're just looking to repair it?
No, we also requested a new vehicle through Fleet.
Did you?
Through
Okay.
Capital
I
this
didn't
year. Again, with, I'll let go Fred for a second. We are attempting some grant opportunities.
That's what I was going to ask you.
So we're always looking. However, we requested, well, the price of a new engine right now, just to give you a little sticker shock,
I
is
know.
well over $1.1 million.
Yeah, I heard that.
That's for a simple engine.
Right.
So we had requested funds in the attempt to do a 10-year fleet plan. So, we would attempt to, kind of manage those. So now this year we come in and let's say we ask for $1.6 million. And then the following year it's the same number, so we can kind of project for that, right? So that was the original game plan. Given, the demands on the budget this year, the mayor has asked that be held off and possibly added to next year. Now, in the meantime.
Jumped over to capital, we're talking about.
Yeah.
No, I started talking about vehicle repairs, which brought us to, I asked the question about vehicle purchases, which swung us over to capital.
Yeah. I'll
that
head
is-
back to maintenance. Just to go back to maintenance for a second. We work in an industry where we are not easy on our vehicles, right, first and foremost. So there's a reason why we recommend 8 to 10 years for frontline vehicle replacement, and then they go into a reserve status. So they'll be available when the front lines either break or something else happens. Then they have to have routine maintenance, which Deputy Chief Retalis handles. The issue ultimately becomes like anything else. If you look at the fire department's fleet, kind of like your house, right? If I don't replace my roof every so often, right, and I don't keep up with those initial repairs, knowing that, okay, in 10 years I need to put a new roof on, now that's going to cost me a lot more money. We are in the same exact boat, which is why you'll see the overall increase every year for fleet services. Okay, you'll see that increase for maintenance, you'll see that because their prices are going up. On the newer vehicles, they're now out of a warranty, right? So now we're seeing the little nuisance repairs that are happening there. You know how this is. Starts out in your car as an O2 sensor. Before you know, you're replacing this, and then you're replacing a radiator, right? We are no different. So that's where you see those numbers, and again, out of our control. They've done a very good job of controlling that cost through competitive bidding. And we have a really good relationship right now with our vendor, who's been more than helpful. But Chief Retalis does a really good job of trying to keep our fleet running. And sometimes some of the costs are just unexpected. Like last year, we had a motor blow. That was $60,000 that nobody expected. We will have that. We had a vehicle recently who the spring brake was sticking. Went in, thought it was just going to be a simple repair. Ends up having 2 cracked leaf springs on the back of the vehicle, plus all the brakes needed to be replaced. These are sometimes beyond your control.
I'll echo what I said at the same time last year. We're into the next level of repairs as these trucks are getting older. In the last 3 weeks, we've replaced motor mounts. The first year you replace O2 sensors, stupid stuff. Worse, this last month was major suspension issues, broken springs, broken motor mounts, seals between the transmission and the motor, you know, it's not your car. Those repairs are $4,000, $6,000.
Never ending.
And you know, the repairs, the first 3 years, first one's bumper to bumper warranty, the next one's limited warranty. But as you hit 5, 6, 7, we're at 100% cost now that we have to pay. And, you know, an alternator 2 weeks ago, it's not your car alternator, it's a $4,000 alternator. You know, and that's why, you know, our budget asked reflective of that, because we're at that, like I put it a minute ago, the next level of repairs. You know, we're not just replacing any more windshield wipers and doors, it's, you know, window motors, like it's, you know, 3 seat belts in the last 3 weeks. Well, the seat belts are $1,400 a piece. You know, we have 100 seat belts. Yeah, it's for a boat or a fire truck.
Right, yeah.
It's expensive.
I'm in the wrong business. I'll just
Right,
say
right.
that.
Yeah.
So,
And I guess the grants for any type of like pumper truck or whatever that you would go after is probably super competitive because everyone's going after like is in the
yeah,
same
it's
predicament.
very competitive. In fact, for some of the grants, especially the FEMA grants, should they still open back up, last year we applied for one, but in order to even be considered for an apparatus, they're looking for apparatus in excess of 30 years. And
There's extremely few grants.
Ours-
for the full person.
ours will not make 30 years. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we're running, some of our engines are in excess of 100,000 miles on them now, which for a fire truck is beyond crazy. It used to be 40,000 miles and hard miles, and then you move that on. You know, we're big on engine hours. That's really what dictates a lot of our fleet replacement.
That grant that we had submitted for the safer grant?
For manpower,
Yeah. Any movement with that, or
Uh,
is that even cut out at this point?
I don't
I
know if
don't,
we
that
got
was last
any-
year, and we did not get that.
Right,
correct?
we didn't
That was
get
the only one.
awarded for that, yeah. We didn't get that one. I mean, we have gotten money for the ladder truck.
That was great.
Recently, and you just bought a used
We did.
vehicle as well.
Yep.
Which
We
will
just
help a
approved
little
that,
bit
that's
on
right.
those repairs, right? Because from what I understand, you're gonna move the unit that's being replaced to a reserve status, so, you know, that'll help, every little bit helps. But yes, the capital budget this year has been really pared back in every department. And that's because we know, we're taking a look at what the debt service is gonna look like in the next 10 years or so, and, you know, we wanna be able to not take this, you know, painful, huge hit and spike when we start to finance the municipal building, so.
And to Ms. Monzo's point, please understand, us finding this rescue truck is a rarity.
Yeah.
So it's not the norm, it's truly the exception. So it's easy to kind of look at me like, wow, we found that, let's go find another one. I've been doing this for over 30 years, this is the first one of these ever in 30 years that we've been able to come across. So just be mindful of that as we kind of look at the budget in its entirety, and
Which vehicle was it?
that's a used rescue truck out of Mansfield Township.
How do we get paid? Did we just have a relationship with them? They knew there was a need. How did that?
No, they're actually, they're in a manpower, they're having manpower difficulties, and they were having difficulty getting the unit out. They were switching to a squad-style concept, which is putting the rescue equipment onto a standard engine. And so I think they tell us they could get it out 25 times in the last year. It was a lot. So their chief has a vision and a plan to move their department forward, and that was part of their agreement with their council, was to sell the vehicle, and we just happened to be at the right place at the right time.
Good.
So they use the vehicle 25 times per year. How often do we?
Every day, all day.
Every day it goes out.
Yep, once
On
it's in
call.
service, yeah, our department last year ran over 17,000 calls for service.
I mean, the population of Mansfield is a fraction.
Yep, but they have large travel times, right?
Yeah.
So, they're kind of like our Groveville station, right? They are very busy. Every company we have here is very busy, but they have rural areas where they have longer response times. They're not beating on their trucks, stop and go like we are here in our urban and suburban setup. So, they definitely, and I will say that they did an outstanding job of maintaining their vehicle as well, which is why it's still in the shape that it's in.
While we're talking about fleet maintenance for 1 second too, we are taking this year some measures to save, to save some money. For the first year in the garage is starting to do some more things. We're working with the garage. We outsourced to a tire vendor for the last few years. This year, the garage is working on our tires, so there's going to be cost savings there. In the past 6-8 months, we started going to them for the stuff they're able to do, like lights and wipers, and so we're slowly working towards that. We're a little ways away from them being able to work fully on the fire trucks, but we've had plenty of meetings with Chuck and his staff to eventually, hopefully, get to where they become our shop, and that will save on some, labor charges. It's a little while away, but we're working on slowly getting them to maybe work on that cart.
Timing's everything.
But we're taking some cost-saving measures to reduce that line item by our garage being able to perform some stuff.
Good vision.
Under, this is janitorial, this is page 10, janitorial, laundry, household supplies. So what we're doing is we're gonna have a decrease of 15,000 for public works on one of the line items, and we're gonna increase your budget, the plan that we're looking at, for, I think it was janitorial cleaning supplies. Cause I get, we're gonna have each, I guess, we're taking the expense away from DPW. That's how I'm reading it.
The reason for that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is there was some things we found over the last couple of years Public Works can't get for us, so we're gonna buy it in-house.
Okay.
It's still like state contract stuff and still, so there's not gonna increase costs, but it was easier for us to get because they don't stock it. I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
Next mic.
There.
Chief, I saw on the I'm sorry, can we move back to capital or are you?
Fine with me. Yeah.
You guys all right?
Feel free.
Yeah, cool.
Just real quick to go to capital. I'm looking at the radios. I see that you had requested about double what is recommended.
For radios,
Yeah, what's the,
so the original ask on the radios was 140,000. So again, we talked about doing phased-in programs. So right now, we have about 48 portable radios. Actually, we do have 48 portable radios that are at end of life. They're also not going to be operable on the system by the end of their 3-year phase-in. So we were doing a 3-year phase-in at 140,000 each year, plus adding, at that point, 6% seems to be our normal moving forward. So the ask for year 1 was 140. We ended up having existing capital for radio still available to the tune of around 70,000. So Ms. Monzo recommended that we drop the ask in year 1, which would be this year, to 70, and utilize the older capital, still giving us the 140. So it would still allow us to do what we intend to do, but we would be utilizing old capital or existing capital in addition to this. But we wanted to do that over a 3-year period as opposed to coming in and asking for almost $500,000 in portable radios.
so the other 2/3 of the radios, will they still be able to be replaced in the next 2 years?
Yes. Yes, as long as moving forward, there's the additional funding in the capital, yes. But we're working to put these plans out, and we're actually working in pretty closely with Ms. Monzo on this, so we would rather be able to phase all of these in, and I think it's an easier way for all of us to project and manage our costs.
So 2/3 of the radios are gonna have a compatibility issue?
Down the road, yes.
down the road.
3 years, yeah,
3 years.
yeah. In the 3-year window, they're no longer, we will no longer be able to get parts for those, and they're no longer going to be supported. These were originally purchased on a radio grant. Oh, God, can't even tell you, probably sometime in the 2000s. So it's been a while. We've gotten our life out of these, and then some. In fact, they need to be sorely and quickly replaced. So we're able to, once we start getting phase 1 in, we'll be able to use the parts from the old ones to extend the life of the existing ones. So that'll buy us another year and then another year. But by year 3, they're all garbage. And that's only a portion of our radios. So the 48 radios is just a portion of our radios. We have quite a few radios. Each member of the department has a radio on a fire ground. So we have quite a few.
After 3 years are no good again, we have to go back in.
No, just these.
I'm getting confused.
These are old.
15
Oh,
years.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
these
just
are,
All right.
yeah, no, we've gotten
You're talking about the compatibility.
compatibility,
Okay.
yeah, on these, yes. All of our newer radios, which have been purchased, say, in the last, 5 to 7 years, they're gonna be good for a while, right? But this is a change that we can no longer get parts, manufacturers and supporting it. And then as far as how it's gonna operate on the existing communication system, they'll no longer be able to work properly or as effectively on it. So we're trying to get ahead of that by doing that in a 3-year phase.
Chief, I had two questions, just looking at the revenue pages. And I'm certain I know the first one is the ARPA fire grant. Obviously, that's a one-time injection, right? That was the American Rescue Plan grant. Yep.
What page are you looking at?
That's on page 1 of revenue section 4 or 5. I'm sorry. So there was a $75,000 grant, and I'm assuming that was from the American. It says ARP. Is that American Rescue
What
Plan?
page, may I ask what page?
Yeah, it's page 1 on this.
Section 4.
I don't even
I don't
see
think
that.
it has the front.
I don't have that.
That you all have.
Yep, I definitely don't have that. Yeah, that's what that would be. It's gotta be what that would be, yeah.
And
I've never seen that, so.
okay, I was just saying, is there a concern that, was that placed for, obviously for a specific project or purpose, or is that like a concern that we're gonna have to now fill that
Not that
$75,000?
I'm aware of, no. I'd have to follow
Okay.
up with Ms. Monzo on that, but.
Okay,
but I'm
I was just curious. It's not significant.
And I understand you're not gonna, have instant recall on every line item, so we're not sure what that money was used for. Is that?
Right, that's what I was just
That's what
asking.
you were-
Yeah,
Okay.
and then,
Grant amount in there.
so it's 75,000.
ARP firefighters grant.
I mean, it's gotta be American Rescue Plan, right?
Oh, yeah, so that would be, I don't remember what it was.
Is that the washer and dryer?
That's the.
Yeah, so that was a one-time grant.
Okay, so
Yeah, okay.
but it was for like, it wasn't for like a specific, it was for a equipment purchase. Is that what we're saying? Like,
It's for the equipment to, manage their,
Right.
the turnout gear.
okay,
It was-
Yeah,
okay,
It was equipment they need that was able to fall under the.
It was a grant you could apply for if it's that one. That is almost a given that you're going to get it, but it's very select things. This year, it's a different topic every year. This year was like health and safety. It was gear cleaning was the only thing we could have done with it.
Okay.
So we were able to acquire 3 gear extractors and drying cabinets
okay.
that we're getting right now.
As traditionally,
Process of ordering them
Yeah.
now, the equipment now, so we'll get reimbursement on.
Oh,
this
excellent.
grant. I don't think we can jeopardy or any of the things, the grants that have been canceled.
No.
okay. We don't show that though for 2025 though, Kath, under that,
We don't show what.
that ARP grant.
Well, that was a one-off.
So that's just a one-off,
Yeah, the grant's already in place. You don't have to.
but it's a one-off. We're not going to get it again.
Correct.
Okay, that's why I just wanted, yeah, I just wanted to,
We may.
We're gonna try.
Apply for, we try it.
We try every grant we can.
I-
Great job of applying for whatever's available. And, so it just depends.
No, I guess my point is is this American Rescue Plan firefighter grant? Is that what it's called? Or am I reading that wrong, the acronym, ARP?
No, you're right.
So this is tied to had to be encumbered and spent by the end of 2026, obviously, these ARPA dollars. So this is a one-time grant, but we'll pursue other grants. I just wanted to get some clarity on that.
We'll never have one under that heading again.
Okay.
But it'll come from the state. It comes through the state.
Okay.
If we got a washer and dryer, then that's gonna have.
Yeah, we got 3 washers and 3 dryers. The year before, we also applied for the same grant, and we got it. It was $75,000, and you had to spend it towards, self-contained breathing apparatus bottles. So we got $75,000 worth of, $2,500 bottles, whatever that math is. So we do apply for it every year, and we've been successful the last few years of getting it. Next year, they're gonna have a topic, and you have to stay within that topic if you want it, so, but it's not out yet what it is, but if there's a grant out there, we're gonna try to get it.
And I guess my other question is on page 2 under the current budget revenues. I saw a slight decrease. It's not that much, but it went from the projections went down a little bit, 30,000 for fire protection revenues, from 590 to 560, 590,000 to 560.
The fire prevention bureau.
No,
Fire
Scott, right?
protection revenues.
Is that for like fire inspect?
That's,
Yeah.
Yeah, Scott's office, the businesses are required to pay their fees, one to the state, one to the township, and the state anticipates what your revenue is going to be
Oh, the state gives
based
you that
on
number.
the value of the building, the value of the property.
Okay.
So if property's closed, then that year we don't get that revenue, so the revenue went down a little bit, maybe, some businesses are not around or a property's closed. It
Okay.
fluctuates
It
every year, it
fluctuates.
goes up and down.
Okay. Yeah, it's not a huge decrease, but I was just curious.
Yeah, and we're only allowed to anticipate whether, the state sometimes comes out with guidelines, but when they don't, we're only allowed to anticipate up to the amount that we collected last year. So
Oh.
we probably collected a little more than 560,000 last year, and we just put it up to that level, assuming we might collect the same.
So we didn't collect 590 last year.
No, we did not.
So,
We budgeted
yeah.
for it, and I think we probably fell short.
Okay. Understood.
The state sends us every year
Yeah.
anticipated revenue, and it says right here, if every business paid what they're supposed to, this is what
You
you
should
should
get.
collect.
Okay.
And then.
Okay,
go from
understood.
there.
Okay.
So there's a line item of revenue, we didn't have previously, the NJDCA, police and fire, capital improvement.
That was a grant that we received, and that, it says police and fire, but I think it's for the roof of the
It is for the police department.
building. And there
Yes.
may be some repairs or whatever that we need to do for fire as well, if there's still the funds available. But this is going to be almost a complete replacement of the roof at the police station.
How long's the academy you're running with, Trent?
4 months.
Where's you gonna have graduation at?
Excuse me?
Where's graduation gonna be?
I believe last year it was at the arena. Although this year the class size is dropped down. Trenton's reduced their numbering. So they're anticipating 12 in this new academy class. The original projection was going to be around 50 members. That was going to be one heck of a sight, so. But I think
50
this
just
is,
for Trenton.
no, it's a
Oh.
combination between, I believe, Ewing Township and then our initial projection, or the original ask, so they held positions for us, so everybody's, I think Ewing may have backed out, so it's Hamilton and Trenton in this one. But this seems to be the, kind of the way of the future, working with their staff moving forward. And, we have some highly trained members of our own, as far as instruction. So right now it's a blend between the two. They're already established, So far, it's gonna, we'll see how this first round goes.
Yeah.
So,
I'm good.
Home the bell tolls.
Very good.
We're good?
We're good.
Chief, we appreciate it.
thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for your time.
We're out. Adjourned.
Some will say that.